if you just maybe go off the phone, go back in, and then just click on, when you open the email, just click on the link. And then you should go straight in. Don't try going in via Zoom. Go straight into the email that Grace has sent you and just click on the link. And you shouldn't need to put a password in. That's the one advantage of being on the phone. Try it again. Just switch off.
Your Zoom account is telling me.
No. Oh, okay. Well, might need to do another lesson. These things always work when you practice them, but not for the real event, which is always a shame. So the next one is just, do we need to move and confirm the status of the agenda? So I'll move it. Carolyn's going to second it. All those in favour, aye, that's carried. Disclosures of interest. So we've got any disclosures of interest for the agenda? No, it's okay. So we've got the previous minutes. It's just for me to move the confirmation of the minutes.
I'll move that.
Great. So Sean's moving it, Carolyn seconding it. That's great.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Can I just make a note in those minutes, page 5, where the discussion was had with the police in respect of the public places bylaw. So my commentary to them was actually the review that Waipa District Council were having, not Waikato District Council. So if that could please be amended.
Yeah, that's probably a typo. Yeah.
And
so
also, sorry, in page 8, I also note that it was said that in deliberations in respect of the speed amendments, that we would discuss the need for further district-wide assessment. My understanding that would be considered in the next review, not in deliberations. Thank you.
That's great. And just looking at that, Carolyn, on the bullet point 9 about the speed on the Tuakau Road, I'm not sure on the second bullet point, I'm not sure that they've spelled Marais plural correctly. It doesn't look quite right. Just I think the second A is in the wrong place. But Grace, you might want to have a look at that one too. Yeah,
Just needs an apostrophe.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You know, sometimes you look at a word, you think, oh, that doesn't look right, but then it suddenly jumps out at you. No, very good. All right. So with those corrections, Sean, are you happy to move it?
Yep, I am.
Yep. And Carolyn, you're happy to second it? Yeah.
There was one I've got here, her name is Hillary Terry for those flowers.
Oh, okay. So that's Bronwyn saying Hillary with the flowers in the minutes. That was in the financials, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's right. Hillary, yeah, on the actions, it's the discretionary fund report, agenda item 6.3. What was that, Hillary? What did she say, Sean?
Harry.
Harry, Harry.
Yeah, Harry, not Barry. No, that's great. Okay, so that's all been moved and seconded with the corrections. That's great. So the next item we have, we don't have anybody here yet for the public forum, but if anybody joins us, we can just adjourn the meeting and give them a chance to have a chat. So we'll go straight on to the reports. We haven't got the police here yet either. So straight on to the first road naming report on page 15, which is for the Onewhero-Tuakau Bridge Road in Onewhero, that area. So welcome to Ross. Ross Byers here from the road naming department. So welcome, Ross. So I'll hand over to you.
Thank you very much. So obviously this was prepared by one of the staff from the roading team, and it just lays out the details of the process and where things are at. And we're looking for discussion and ultimately whether people are happy to accept the recommendation of staff, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Right, do I have any questions from anybody? There's 3 roads proposed: Kaipo Heights Drive, which will be off Kaipo Flats Road, Onewhero Lane and Tiatia Drive. I hope I pronounced all those right. Candy?
How do you come up with the names of the road again? Sorry.
Beg your pardon?
How do you come up with the naming of the roads again?
So the reason is shown on the landscape page. I can't tell what page it is on the report, but there is a
17.
reason given there as to why they were why the developer was suggesting they'd like that name. So
That's
can you
page
see that
7,
landscape
page
page, or do you
17,
want
Ross.
me to read it out?
Page 17, Candy.
Oh, yep. I'm looking in here. Yep. Is that in general for all the names the developers put forward suggestions based on the landscape? Is that how it happens?
It can work in kind of a couple of different ways. Community boards can go through and they can find and identify a number of names that they would like to be used in the district. And as part of that process, the developer has the option of choosing those names, or if they would like a particular name, preference for some name or names, they can then put those forward and the reasons for those names can be given. And unless there's a really good reason for excluding those names, I think it would be reasonable to accept that the developer, the developer has, if they provide a sound reason, I think it would be acceptable for those names to be considered and approved.
Mm.
And that's certainly what the policy says.
Mm. And is there a reason why it's so it's got Kaipo Heights Drive? Is there a reason why the heights in the drive may not be in Māori?
Well, that's a good question, isn't it? It's a good question. I suspect it could be to do with your emergency services and things like that. So, see, we've got to differentiate between Flats Road and Heights Drive. So, that could be the reason.
I do know on page 18, Candy, that they've at 5.4, they've indicated that the 3 proposed road names include Te Reo and local iwi had been included in the consultation group. And I would hope that your iwi was included since you're the local
I'm not
iwi.
sure. Do you know who that might have been, Ross?
Yeah.
No, I don't know because one of the staff members handled it. So I couldn't tell
Might
you.
have been Sam, eh?
Yeah. I know in terms of the final bit of that, whether it was a road or a lane or a drive, there is some definition of those, isn't there, Ross, in terms of like what can be a lane and what can be a road. And it's got to meet some of the New Zealand Post requirements as well.
Oh, just interesting. Just thought
Yeah.
I'd ask.
It's certainly worth, Candy, following up with Sam around how consultation happens with local iwi, because it's really important that council get this right. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So is everybody supportive of those? So we've just got to approve those names unless we've got any objections to those. Is everybody supportive of those names?
Right.
Yeah.
They are those places.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope my only thing was I hope the heights is higher than the flats. Yeah, it'll look a bit silly if it's not. I just think, picking up on Candy's point, could we have and I know this isn't your department, Ross, it sits with Sam. Could we have a report back probably from Sam on how that consultation happens with local iwi, just to make sure that they are including because at times it might be important to go down to local, like hapu, and that it's done appropriately.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, kōrero. Stephanie might have some
Stephanie,
input on it.
yeah, Stephanie, you've got a hand up.
Maybe you have to unmute, Stephanie.
Stephanie, yeah, are you there?
Unmute, right. Thank you. Just wondering if it would be a good idea for the community board to have a workshop on naming and get new lists drawn up, because years ago we did, and we used to invite the local marae to have an input in the names that we would then put forward to developers.
Thank you, Stephanie. I was wondering if something like that happens. That'll be a good idea, eh?
Because Stephanie, you're right, times change as well, and other more information becomes available as well. So yeah, it's probably useful given the number of new subdivisions that are happening around the place. Sean?
I'd just add, and it's probably part of that other conversation, but when I look at the list of names that we've come up with, which are on this report, it's pretty narrow. For us as a community board to understand where all the developments may take place, what the local culture, history, significant areas are, will be pretty difficult. And I kind of feel like if some things are suggested by whomever, it's probably how we'll get the broader scope of names, because we'll never choose the right ones, you know, something that doesn't happen in our local space. That's my thought anyway.
Good thought. But sometimes if they're given it a Māori name and it's inappropriate, then might deem to be not right for the people, you know?
Yeah, but I would have said that this is our opportunity to say that.
Yeah, but unless we know when the time is, like, you know, very narrow window, you know, you were talking about, how would we know until it comes to a board meeting like this and it's already pretty much been put forward to decide? I like the idea around the workshop, but yeah, timing, eh?
Yeah, I think the workshop's important because certainly, like, often what happens is developers are given a list of names that are appropriate. So actually making sure they're given the appropriate list of names for that area, and also the local iwi have an opportunity to have input in as well, because and it's appropriate for the area. That's the thing. So yeah, no, that's great. So are we happy to move that recommendation that the board approves the following 3 names that were submitted by the developer?
Move that.
Yeah, great. And I'm happy to second that. So that's carried. Then we've got the next one for Ross, which is for a subdivision in
Dominion Road.
Dominion Road. That's right. So there's one name here, which is Will Cooper Way. Are you indicating, sorry, on page 24, Ross, that there's a Cooper's, are you indicating that where there's Cooper's Ways elsewhere, so, but there's not another Cooper's Way in...
I just went out of there. Is it in the same report?
Yeah.
Sorry.
24.
I just went out of
24.
24, it's, yeah, so it's for the Dominion Road subdivision.
Sorry.
Is that named after Willie Cooper?
Yeah, the road proposed is Will Cooper. Yeah.
I'm just reopening it.
Yeah.
Hi. Okay.
It's not attached to the version that I've got, unfortunately.
Okay, that's all right. We've got it on our agenda. Now, what's also interesting for this one, which will be interesting for Sean and Candy, given the comments, and Stephanie, the comments already made on page 29, is the revised list Tuakau Community Board names list from 2019. So it includes names from the World War I Tuakau Honours Board, Maori people's names from Tuakau, and Cooper's listed amongst those, local names, trees, food, and I think they've indicated some that are not available. I'm not sure whether that means they've already been used or that perhaps the families don't want them used. But certainly it would be worth having a workshop and updating that, because then there certainly may be other names. And just completely out of interest, I was talking to someone phoned me this afternoon who's got a family member listed on the ones from the World War I honours, and they're going to email me with some of the history, because there's potentially 2 family names that could be linked to them. And they and I said to them, can you provide me in your email the area of Tuakau that connects with your family? And it happens to be around Elizabeth Street, where I understand there's a subdivision happening. So it's important that if we are going to use names, we link them to the areas where there is some connection. So probably the more information we can get about those families, the more useful it is for the developer. And also we can perhaps link the names to some of the areas where we know there's future subdivision happening. So we said, we can perhaps say those names will be suitable for this area or that area, and the such like. So yeah, so we've got the recommendation here for Will Cooper Way. Sorry, the little doggies in the background.
Does Will Cooper know about it?
It's his development.
So he's fine with it.
Yeah, he put it forwards, I'd suggest.
Oh, yeah.
So if I move, I want to add another recommendation here, so that we approve the Will Cooper Way, but also that we have a second recommendation, which is we have a workshop to update the current list of road names for the Tuakau and Onewhero areas. Yeah. And Candy, if we and also we need to ensure, how do we get feedback from mana whenua in terms of that, because otherwise, do we invite local iwi to the workshop? That's the other option.
Yeah, we'll just open it up to everybody, right?
Yeah, because it's a workshop, we can invite other people. So we have a workshop and we invite local iwi to that workshop.
So Bronwyn has something to say.
Carolyn, we've done that in the past, and 1 or 2 of them have arrived from Marae, but as Candy suggested, we could have some from either Port Waikato or as well in her area.
Absolutely. So we could do it for the broader area, like Onewhero-Tuakau, and go broad, because there's quite a lot of subdivision happening everywhere at the moment, and including everybody would be useful. And the more names and connections, and perhaps even indicate which iwi those names have come from, so that if council needs to go back to that iwi at any point, or which areas they would be relevant to. Because there's even there's some little subdivision happening even around Glenmurray and around the broader area. So it would be useful then, so that council in the future knows of which iwi provided the names and who to go back to if at a later stage they just want to check in with them. Carolyn?
Sorry, Tony.
I was just going to say through you, Madam Chair. I think what Ross would find and his team would find really helpful is when you do have this workshop and the names are being suggested, for there to be like a simple paragraph that explains the significance of that name, so that then Ross's team, as I understand it, Ross, and you'll probably correct me, but what they will do is just sort of check to make sure that from NZ Post perspective and that sort of stuff, that there's no clashes, and then those names will absolutely be given to developers. And so if there's something there that actually for the developer is meaningful, so they can go, oh, actually that is meaningful for my development, I'd like that name, then it might be that they would put those names forward with any suggestions that they have. So the more meaning you can provide around the names, better.
Yeah, Carolyn?
Yeah, thank you. in respect of consultation with iwi as well, I asked for an update recently just in respect of where council are at in establishing the mana whenua forums as well. So hopefully we'll have a bit of an update about where that's at, and that'll give us, maybe Candy might have some feedback on that, give us a somewhat of a starting point of where to go in terms of who we consult with, which hobby, who has authority to speak for that piece of land.
Is that what those boards are being set up for, Carolyn? Just to distinguish which
So
part hapu
the
and they're going to speak for those areas?
Yeah, the mana whenua forums, that's basically it will be a body that not just in terms of road names, but in respect of consultation with lots of other documents. So identifying who are the right people that council need to speak to. So that work is still ongoing, with Sam leading that.
Are those decision making forums, those mana whenua forums you're talking about?
So
or are they just tick boxes?
If I can maybe help, Councillor Eyre, so the terms of reference for those mana whenua forum is a work in progress for Sam at the moment. So my understanding is that he's working through that. So to determine exactly what the purpose of them is, Candy. So I'm sure that it'll be a lot of informing, but whether there is an opportunity in the future for there to be some delegation to decision making is an opportunity I think that we could explore over time. So just a little bit like the challenge for community boards and committees. So community boards currently don't have a lot of delegation in terms of making decisions, but that's something that in future iterations of council can be challenged.
Thanks, Tony.
No, that's great. And certainly like this afternoon, having a conversation with one of the families already on the World War I list. Actually, I did ask them to provide some detail around their connections, because it's more than one generation, several generations. So, but at the moment, that list, it's like you've got a list of names and you wouldn't know which roads would be appropriate for them to be linked to. And you don't want to link them to the wrong area, particularly if they own land or businesses or anything else in the area. So, or did certain activities or something. So yeah, no, that would be great if we could get a workshop set up on that. And even if we can get a bit more, try and find out who we contact to get a bit more detail on the current names to assist developers as well, because often they want to do the right thing, but it's just they do have quite a short time frame, I know, in terms of as the development finishes, in terms of getting the names approved into New Zealand Post. So that would be great. So have we moved and seconded those yet, Grace, or no? All right, so I'm happy to move those. Does anybody want a second? Who wants? Sean? Thank you. Thanks you, Ross. And so it's great. Yeah, it's great to have this corridor tonight. So so you might get a hopefully the family that will email me, I'll forward those on to you, and then we'll have the workshop, and hopefully we can update this list, because it's probably timely for it to be updated anyway if it's 2019. So that's lovely. Thank you. So that's great.
Thanks, Caroline. I see the policy there. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, is there anything else before I go that anybody would want to talk about? Tony, you were talking about.
I'm just wondering, Madam Chair, I think the next paper on your agenda is the Works and Issues report, and there's a couple of things that have Ross's name next to them, so it might be quite good that you hear it from the horse's mouth.
Absolutely, I've just noticed that. Yes, so we move swiftly to the first item on that list, which is the lighting at Port Waikato, has Ross's name on it.
Must be a different Ross, is it?
Oh, no, it says Ross Byer. You're not getting out of that one that easily.
Yeah, so there's a comment in there, I think, and I can't remember what I said at the time, but I do have a consultant who has finally given me a date for delivering that report, and It is. I must be. It's next month, isn't it? I think from memory.
In the end of April, Ross.
Is it? Oh well, it's pretty close. Pretty
This
close.
week.
Yep. So if that's what it said, that's when it'll be available. So it'll be available for the next meeting, obviously.
Okay, so the next item, Ross, if there's no questions on that, the next item was.
Is there any questions from anybody, or we'll wait for the report from Ross? Welcome, Vern. So Vern's joined us.
Actually,
Carolyn.
I think.
Sorry, Madam Chair, just in respect of Port Lighter, and bearing in mind that we're heading out to the port on Tuesday, week today, for the blueprint, and I know that it has actually been identified as an issue and the initial feedback. So at the risk of, I don't want to put pressure on, but if there was some information that we could go to the community, it'd be really good.
Coffee's in that little glass jar or in the cabinet.
Down here.
Vern, can you put yourself on mute, please? We'd all like a coffee, otherwise.
Yeah, so look, I will be able to talk to John Stevens, who's doing it, and give some sort of an update. Did you say it's Monday or Tuesday of next week?
Tuesday next week, we're heading out there for
Sure,
the
I'll
blueprint.
give some update.
Perfect.
I mean, I'm pretty
Thanks, Ross.
confident that the lighting out there will not meet the current standard, but let's just see what he comes up with.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right, and then I think your name's against the next item too, Ross, which is the George Street Buckland Road corner. And so you're just indicated that the staff are working on this as NZNA have approved funding. Likely to, maybe you can give an update.
Yeah, so I haven't been looking after this personally, and so but I did talk to Gareth about the comments in there. So I think it says that it's going to be constructed next construction season. Is that correct? October or November or something?
Yeah.
So with NZTA and the safety projects for this year, all of that was basically subject to a special part of the workshop and the confirmation of the budgets, which took place in February. So that wasn't approved until February, and so we're now just working through what we're going to do by when across a whole range of safety projects, and this is one of them. So that's a reason why it's been delayed until next construction season.
Oh, lovely. Thank you, Ross. And I think that was I've just had a quick flick through, and I think that's the
Dawn's
last.
not going to let me get away that easily.
No, we've got a question there from Sean. Sean, off you go. And Tony.
You have to put you're on mute, Sean.
Sorry, thank you. Just one, because it's been sitting on our agenda for quite some time, and that's around the Harrisville Road bridge replacement. Like I'm going to call 6 years.
So I've only been involved in 3 of those 6 years, so I'm only going to take half of the responsibility for it. NZTA have thrown a bit of a curveball this year. It was programmed to be done this year. They're now saying that we had to show that it was an end-of-life project and it wasn't just an upgrade. It's been approved in principle, and we're just working through that with them so that it does mean that the design won't be finished until probably the next 6 months or so, but it will be built in the next financial year.
Thank you.
So that's the one immediately just out of the town, right?
Yes.
Now, I think one thing I must say to you, though, as well, is that we're going to need to consult a little bit with the community over that, because it may well be that the best way, or even the only way, to replace that bridge might mean that we have to close that link for a few weeks, if not a few months. And so we just have to think around how that's going to work, whether we're going to put a Bailey Bridge in there, which will get traffic around the construction site, but that might have a cost associated with it. So those are all things that I think we need to be thinking about in terms of when we go out to contract to procure that bridge and the construction of it.
Have a bridge.
Thank you.
I think there was a question from Bronwyn, wasn't there? Or was that Stephanie?
Well, no, it was from I just said there is already over the railway bridge on Park Evans.
Yeah, it's about the traffic getting out north of Tuakau. I mean, it'd be pretty disruptive if there was no connection there, because I'd say it's probably certainly one of the busiest of the main arterial route out of Tuakau.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and if we do anything that involves a diversion or whatever, obviously we need to be talking to the community about, you know, how disruptive that might be or otherwise. So, yeah, pretty important discussion to have.
Yep.
And then we've got Stephanie, you've got your hand up.
Thank you, Caroline. Yes, is that the Whakapiri stream?
Yeah.
Is that the bridge over there?
Yes.
So what happened to the plans that came across from Franklin, because both plans and money went into the Waikato District Council when the amalgamation took place?
So I haven't seen those plans, but what I can tell you is that that would have been how long ago?
10 years.
10 years ago, yep. So what I could tell you is that the standards have changed since then. We have new earthquake codes and things that we need to meet. So I suspect that even if we were to find them, that it would still require a revision of what was done originally. But I will certainly have a look and see if there is something that we can learn from what was done previously. In terms of the funding and allocation, I guess that will have come across to provide the council share, but it's really important when we're doing any work on the network that we have NZTA share as well and approved, because they pay for half of it.
And you've got a question?
Sure have. The money for that bridge was from the sale of our shares under Franklin in the Auckland Regional Airport. And if I remember correctly, we were advised that that 500,000, I think was the figure, went back into the coffers of council. Pretty sure you'll find that in there.
Yes, I think through you, Madam Chair, the in terms of some of the funds at least received from the sale of those shares, it was used to mitigate the impact of the costs of delivering a wastewater solution for the north, particularly in Pukenua. So you might be aware that in terms of providing a reticulated wastewater service to the urban parts of Pukenua, certainly around the CBD, the residential people in that area, we provided a subsidy to them such that the cost of connecting to that network was sensible as opposed to unaffordable.
Stephanie, you've got your hand up.
Thank you. It's my understanding that the money that came across and was supposed to be for that Whakapiri Stream bridge upgrade went to Cameron Town Road.
It's gone anyway.
Not sure.
I don't think there's anybody that can probably answer you, Stephanie, on that. So did you, I mean, it's probably, do you want to follow that through your council networks? I'm not sure. Yeah.
But I think through you, Madam Chair. So Ross, what you're saying is that the project is supported. You're working through that with NZTA with a view to still being able to deliver an outcome.
Yes, and it's funded.
Yeah.
Funded both by NZTA and by council. There's no issue with the funding.
Right, thank you, Ross. That was very informative, actually, having you along. So, yeah, no, thank you.
Madam Chair, I wasn't quite ready to let him off the hook.
No, that's great. Thank you, Ross, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Now, I'm very aware.
I think Barney had a question for him.
Yeah, can I just get Ross? There's a couple of other items that have a roading flavour. So one is the speed bend on Jellicoe Ave, and I think there's Vern and Candy's names next to that, so I'm not quite sure exactly what the action is.
Yeah. I might just want to take a break there, Tony, because I'm aware of the time, and Carolyn will need to disappear soon.
Okay.
And just see if Carolyn's got any quick update that she wants to give us before she departs.
Okay.
Look, my update would be really brief, Caroline. So I'm happy for Ross to actually answer those questions first, and then I can follow in after him if that
Okay.
works.
No, it sounds great. Okay, off you go, Ross. We're on
So I did
Jellicoe Avenue.
I did see that in the Works and Issues report, but it's not a thing that I'm actually have any real knowledge about, other than to say if it's a bend that we think we need to have a speed sign on it, we have a process, and the person who would be involved in that process actually lives in Pukekohe as well, so it won't be too difficult to get that done if that's what's required.
What was the other one, Tony? You thought Ross might want to contribute to?
So
Yeah, sure.
there was another one around
Yeah.
the speed on the Tuakau Bridge, Port Waikato Road. And so there's some accident data has been provided to the board, which I think is attached to the agenda. So just sort of wondering where to from here, if anywhere.
Are you meaning from a roading perspective?
Yep.
Yeah, so there was a proposal to make a number of changes in terms of the speed and one thing and another, but it was found that with the changes in the road marking that we have made there, so we've got a double yellow line right throughout there, there's been a significant drop in the accidents, as I understand it, and as I understand it, that's supported by the accident data which you have. I haven't looked at it personally, but that's what I've been told.
Okay.
And for that reason, there was no feeling that there needed to be a change in the speed limit.
All right, Sean's got his hand up.
I just have a question there on that data. So it's the Tuakau Port Waikato Road that we're talking about?
Yep.
So in this data, there's not been a single incident on that road.
Depends on the time frame and one thing another. So that the data went back for 10 years.
Yeah.
So I haven't got the data in front of me, although I probably could find it. That can't possibly be correct.
That's all.
It is absolutely not correct.
That strikes me as very odd.
I'm just trying to get rid of a moth here. Well, look, I'll have a look at that and I will come back to you. I just got someone to run that report and sent it through, and I'm not sure that I can access it at the moment.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Right, next hand up was Stephanie, followed by Candy, then Carolyn.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, that's not an accurate report, and it's also taken in minor accidents on the roads that join on to the Tuakau Bridge Port Waikato Road. I think Vern was going to look at talking to the tow truck drivers to see how many incidents there actually are, because so many aren't reported to the police. But the farmers I know get vehicles going through their fences on a very regular basis, and the double yellow lines haven't made a blind bit of difference because people just pass over them anyway.
Is it me, Caroline? Kia ora. Yeah, I tend to agree. I go out there every day. We have a farm out there, and the amount of accidents that happen just from the Tuakau Bridge to where our farm is, which is only about 4 Ks, is I take pictures of them every time they have them if I'm around. I just passed one on Sunday night. So that was lucky that wasn't a fatal, that one. But anyhow, I also wanted to know what we were looking at, if we were looking at reducing the speed around marae. I know it was noted in here, but because I know there's some kōrero around having the speed reduced around schools, and I actually have a kohanga reo at the marae, the first marae as you go out on that road. Is there any leniency around reducing the speed around those areas?
Right. So I didn't do the detailed assessment of each of the roads, but I think there was a proposal to reduce the speed limit at the Mariah's as well, but I will double check with Gareth and come back to you on that.
Thanks, Ross.
I think the other thing that we just need to be mindful of is that we will have some operating speeds for that road as well. So while people say it hasn't made any difference, our traffic count data will tell us what the operating speeds are across that road. And I think that might also have been one of the reasons that supported our current position on that road.
Yeah, because I remember the day those yellow lines got put in, and I thought, gee, I wonder how long they go for. And they went all the way from a certain point just after the bridge around the corner out towards the flats there. And I still don't think they make a big difference either myself, from what I've noticed on the, we get a daily car crash in the paddocks, like Stephanie was saying out there. So yeah, maybe we should take those into consideration too, the farmers' reports and accounts, and the fences, many fences they have to fix because the people who crash into them don't pay for it. Thank you.
Carolyn.
Yeah, thank you. Look, I would agree with all the comments that have been made, because we need to look at a wide range of data here to inform, in addition to the report that's in this agenda, that information that Vern was going to find out from the tow trucks, speaking to the locals, but also ascertaining how many of those accidents that have actually been caused by wandering stock. And I know our staff, animal control, have actually been doing some really good work in that space over the last sort of couple of years or so, but that's probably something we need to stay on top of as well, because further in towards the port there, that has actually been probably one of the main reasons for, not rather than the speed, well, combined with the speed, but the wandering stock as well. So yeah, I think we, in a nutshell, need to look at lots of different information to actually inform and assisting with any decision making. Yeah.
Ross.
I think what I can add is that we did also, and I was part of a conversation that we had with the police around speeds on that road. And I'm pretty confident that the speeds that the police confirmed there had been, in their view, a reduction in the speeds on that road as a result of the yellow lines going in. But again, I'll double check with them, because as you say, it's important that we consider all the information and everywhere that we get some feedback.
I just wonder, Carolyn, you mentioned that the blueprint for the Port Waikato is about to start soon, and whether there's an opportunity to survey the landowners that border that main road and just get some informal feedback from them around whether they've had to repair their fence from a car accident in the last 2 years or something, just to see, because I agree there would be a lot of accidents that are never reported to the police. The other one is, the reality is there's quite a lot of signs down that road telling you that it's uneven, and there's, beware of stop crossing and deer and stuff like that. And if, like Candy's indicated, there's yellow lines as well now. Unfortunately, you can put all the signage you like, but there are some people that choose to ignore that and still do dangerous actions or don't drive to the conditions. And so it would be, I think, if there's an opportunity to survey local landowners, because they'll probably give you a lot of information around whether the people were still present when their car went through the fence, and all those sorts of details.
Probably just in respect of blueprint, though, it probably wouldn't fall within that scope. And in reality, when we went out to the communities about speed reductions, actually the port residents, interestingly enough, didn't want that road to be reduced in speed. So the issue around the accidents is probably more the residents outside of the Port Waikato. That's probably more, the landowners on that road, without a doubt, but the blueprint will just be focusing obviously on the community aspirations. And it has, at this point, it hasn't been raised, I can say, an initial feedback from the community.
Just a question to Ross and Tony. Yeah, is there an easy way of surveying those landowners, like through a rate bill or something, to get their feedback?
I don't know whether there's ever an easy way, and I guess Tony might handle that, but I think that sometimes anecdotal evidence can be contradict some of the actual information that we have. So, you know, if the police who are monitoring speeds have a particular thing to say, then I think that is actually, you know, that's one of the things that would carry quite a bit of weight. So we just need to be, and consultation processes can be quite time consuming. So we just need to bear that in mind.
I guess for you, Madam Chair, I guess, you know, it's one of those examples where you can't have your cake and eat it too. So you can't have safe roads, but have people continuing to travel at speeds that aren't safe, unless you then are prepared to make a significant investment in the quality of the infrastructure. So that's the challenge I'm assuming that Ross has. But Ross, I just sort of wonder whether, you know, through the blueprints process, at least, if we were to get some sort of signal from the community that the safety of that road was an issue for it, then that's a start, isn't it? So yes, it might not be that we don't want the speed to be reduced, but at least we are concerned about the safety of that road, would be a starting point. And then what I'm hearing from this conversation is that, you know, Vern's potentially got some information via a contact. Candy's already provided some sort of observations from her perspective in terms of the number of accidents. And then at some point we would pull all of that together to, you know, work out some sort of a way forward.
Candy, you had your hand up and then Vern.
Can I also just go over a couple of things? So Sean, you said that the report that came through didn't have any accident things on it. So I've just got it in front of me, and I can see there are 4 fatals in the time period that are there. And well, I can just add up the serious injuries. It looks as though there are serious injuries. There are 16 serious injury crashes in the table. So maybe you just aren't quite looking in the right place. So I'm not sure that I would need to resubmit that data. That does seem as though correct. There's 16 serious injury accidents and minor injury accidents. I mean, obviously there are whatever there are there. So yeah, it's just a question of maybe looking at it in a slightly different way. So non-serious, there were 78 non-minor injury accidents, and what did I say? I think there were 4 fatals.
When I look at that and I look at the names of the roads down there, Klondike Road, Frost Road, Kohanga Road, Coburn Place, I see no reference to the Tuakau Port Waikato Road. I only see other roads mentioned, but maybe I'm not reading that correctly.
Yes, I think what we've done is I'm just trying to look for where the road name is, but so I mean maybe I'll just double.
It does say
Side Road. Oh, yep. But those will be all the accidents in that area that they would have searched for.
So how do we identify which road they were on?
Well, it should be in that column. What does it say? That says
side road.
That says side road there, right? So what that would be indicating is where the nearest side road is. So again, if there will be you'd have to look at the original query, but the 4 fatals sounds about right to me for that road.
I think on the side, the next column, it says the distance from, so that might be suggesting the distance from Tuakau Bridge, Port Waikato Road. Could that be right?
Yeah, I think that's correct. Yeah.
So we can assume that all those incidents are on the Onewhero.
Well, that's certainly what I asked for when I sent it through. So, and 4 sounds about right.
Yeah. So in terms of numbers, then, is that pretty typical? Like, I know we have this aim for 0, but which in my opinion is totally unrealistic. Are those numbers bad or good typically, or?
Over 10 years, well, yeah. The only way you can do these properly is to look at vehicle kilometres travelled. So, if there aren't many vehicles, if there isn't much traffic on the road at a national level and you have 4 fatals, that's quite serious. It is quite serious. So another way of looking at it will be to look at VKTs, and it definitely was a high accident area. But, if you look from the 2019-2020 area, there are only 2 serious accidents have happened there, according to that data, since that period of time. And that was around about when those double lines went in there. So again, I think if we go back to what people have suggested, maybe we need to look at some other data, consider some other conversations with people. We can revisit that with the police as well. And we might have some traffic count data which would tell us what the average operating speed is on that road prior to those yellow lines going in and post, which will also be useful information for us. So I can provide both of those bits of information in a separate little note to the chairman.
Okay, so Madam Chair, so that's probably a reasonable way forward for that particular issue. And if you're happy with leaving that there, just the last issue that, and this doesn't require a lot of work, well, not yet, at least, Ross. So there's an item number 12 where there's the question just raised around a particular intersection in Tuakau, the Elizabeth Street, George Street, Escott Way, or I think it's Escott Road.
Sorry, Tony. I just got one final comment. Just looking through that list, the last fatal accident occurred this weekend 2 years ago. It's on the 24th of April, and it was a motorcyclist, and it involved animals. So that's kind of a combination of the lot. I think and I guess, like, picking up Sean's point, it's like, how does this compare with other roads? That's the thing we don't know. We can presume the one. Also, we can presume the accidents that went into the fences that weren't reported were either non-injury or minor injury, that the occupants could walk away or run away, which is partly why they didn't get reported. So further information would be great. Yeah.
Yes, I think the outcome, isn't it, or the action, is that Ross has probably heard enough tonight to go and actually have another look at this. So, Ross, so that's
fine.
A reasonable action. Yep. Are you okay with that, Madam Chair? Cool.
Yep, thank you.
And then just the last item around item 12 on the agenda, Ross, which is just some concerns with some development in the vicinity with the bottlenecks that are being created around a particular intersection of Elizabeth, George and Escott roads. Now the feedback from the LDE is that the traffic assessments that were done as part of the development were suggesting that the intersection should cope, but evidence is suggesting it doesn't. So I'm just thinking that should be logged as a service request, and then your team can have a look at that in conjunction with the LDEs. Is that okay?
That's a very salient point, Tony, because this is not the first development where we've had a report from consultants indicating that there wouldn't be any issues at particular intersections, only to find a different result. In fact, I talked to my team about this exact issue today in respect of Pocono. So, yep, we as an organisation, I think, need to be possibly a little bit firmer about how we deal with these things and what information we accept on face value and what we don't, because it's pretty clear that, yeah, there seems to be a bit of a disconnect there.
Okay, so So you're okay. Well, we can do one of two things. We can change the name on this action now to roading, and you take ownership of it, or we could log a service request. What would you prefer?
You can leave it with us. We know that's an issue. We are talking to the LDEs about it, and we're going to put some things in place to make sure that we do a better job, I think. Yeah.
Okay, but in terms of this particular issue, this particular intersection,
it's the LDEs are already aware of it, aren't they?
yeah, but they basically said that they are standing behind a traffic assessment, and that they're recommending that if there's still practical issues that we have a chat with you.
Okay. Okay. All right. We'll it's Elizabeth and George, eh?
Yeah, Elizabeth, George, and Escott.
Madam Chair, I'm just wondering.
I've got 3 hands up here for questions. I've got Candy, Sean, and then Vern.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just wondering if that would also link up to the number 15 on the action schedule, because not far from there is the pedestrian crossing. And we've also had, and I know Vern's name is attached to it, but I've also raised it too in regards to some safety concerns, because it's so close to the intersection itself, the crossing. So I'm not sure if you want to have some thoughts around that too at the same time.
Yep. Yep, I've noted that. We don't like pedestrian crossings close to intersections.
Okay, so Madam Chair, I think we'll change the actions in this register to Ross at his approval.
No, that's great. So I've got question Sean now.
Just to comment that it says I've looked at the Hughes development at the end of Escotts Road. That one was actually already in place. It was actually the addition of the second development on the road opposite to Escotts that goes down to the high school. That was, adding even further, because it's another 80 odd lots or something. So just to comment that it was you might be able to pin it on someone else's traffic report.
Oh, so Sean, is that not the one that's referenced there at 39 Elizabeth Street?
Same intersection, but initially there was the development off the left-hand side of the intersection of 100 lots.
Yeah.
Then there's been the other development at the other end. Sorry, it's not Elizabeth. Is it Elizabeth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At Elizabeth Street, that all comes through that intersection as well.
Okay. All right.
It belongs with the Tuakau College.
Yeah. That's all. Thank you.
Vern, you.
Yeah, and of course, Madam Chair, the results of the surveys that have been done are not accurate, simply because there's no housing yet being built on the Elizabeth Street development. So the reason that I raised this previously was because the building of homes on that site is about to begin. So the true meaning of the issue at the intersection won't be really felt for probably another year, but it will certainly be there at that point. And we need to address it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, so I think that's the key point, Vern, that these traffic assessments should have taken into account the impact of the development. So it should be forward looking. If you're suggesting that it's a problem now before these homes are actually even built, then yeah, so I'm sure that Ross will be interested.
Sean, was there some comment from Bronwyn? Was Bronwyn commenting?
So for the trucks and that were coming and going from that development, there were quite a few complaints by people that live down Elizabeth Street and a bit worried about the kids going to and from college and primary school. That were also going up the side roads of Church Street or Edinburgh Street,
Okay, so through you, Madam Chair. So Ross, we're clear about the intersection. So the analysis that you will do will actually have regard to what's happening within the vicinity, right? So you don't need any more information now?
No, we're fine, thank you.
Okay.
We'll review the information that people provided and compare that with what we think might be the outcome.
Okay.
Were we also going to, while we got Ross raised the question around Jellicoe Avenue Road corner, just trying to find, the speed on the Jellicoe Avenue bend, which had Candy and Byrne's name against it. Byrne?
Okay, so there's two sections in here in the schedule for tonight addressing that. And my concern was over the fact that the corner is cut by motorists going both ways. The village, Amberley Park Village, is going to give me a report which we can file, and I actually was hoping, Madam Chair, to be able to have that report for when I lodged the CRM request, but I haven't got the report, so I didn't lodge the request today. And I've gone back to the village to say, look, I really do need this because of the elderly there. But it's a twofold. It's not just the village. It is really more the motorists travelling from the bottom end of Jellicoe, coming up to that intersection and simply cutting the corner. And I proposed within the document that there be a small narrow traffic island around that bend that does allow the access from the motorist heading up into the village, into Village Place. But it just creates a degree of safety for all concerned, because eventually it's really only a matter of time before there is going to be a head-on at that particular corner or bend in the road, Ross, as it is, but it's just, yeah, it just can't cope with what has been thrown at it on a daily basis. How we deal with it, I've been back down there today when I went to the village, and I actually ran a tape measure around the bend to see how wide a strip we could put in there safely to stop the traffic from crossing. And it's only about a foot wide, but that foot would certainly stop cars wanting to cross over and cut the corner. Now, whether it's a trial or whatever, speed bumps aren't going to do it, because that simply just the traffic can still cut the corner. If you like to, if you're here at some point, I'm happy to take you down and show you how this operates daily.
And that's just not there. It goes all the way down to where, that's because I live down here. That's why.
Yeah.
You're on mute.
Who,
Ross,
me?
Ross, you're on mute. I think Ross is, unless he's.
So I was just having a drive while you were talking. Look, obviously, if there's an issue, we need to see what we can do, see how we can improve things. I'd be very reluctant to put any sort of island or anything on that corner, because I'll be getting claims for destroyed wheels and tyres as soon as it goes in there. I don't know how we deal with that there, but look, let's have a look at it. I can see that it might be an issue. Yep.
Thank you.
All right, that's great. So any more? I think we've probably run out of questions for Ross. So thank you, Ross, for your time. It's been really helpful, and it's really appreciative that you came tonight and we were able to have this good conversation around all these roading issues. So thank you, and we'll look forward to the updated reports. So yeah.
So it's my pleasure, and it's always good to get a bit of feedback from people in the community as to what the real issues are. So yeah, thank you for providing that feedback, and we're some things for us to look at.
No, thank you very much. That's great.
Thank you.
So enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Ross.
All right, so we've got the rest of this report to get through. So we've done 1 and 2. We've done 3. So we've got 4 now, which is the Tuakau pool upgrade. So there is the update there about the leak. I'm not sure if so it looks like they've identified the leak now. Sean, is there anything you want to add to this?
No, only that I think we're supposed to have a site meeting on Friday regarding the pool.
That's right. Yeah, the meeting with many dates.
One.
It's the one. So at least there's progress being made. And hopefully after the meeting, we'll be able to provide more of an update to the rest of the group. So if there's no questions on that one, we'll move to number 5, which is the Tuakau Youth Centre building project. And there's an update from April around that Jason Marconi's met with the Tuakau youth group. I don't know if Bronwyn's led Stuart, Sean wants to provide a bit of an update on this one.
I can't give you any. I should have asked Jay yesterday, but yesterday was a heavy day and my brain wasn't working on that.
So, Madam Chair, I can give you a little bit more of an update. So my understanding from my discussion with Jason today is that he has spoken to Rebecca Law, who is one of the team at council, and she doesn't see any issue with increasing the footprint from a council end in terms of the building. So he's now going to meet with the Tuakau youth group again, but they're not having a meeting until after the school holidays. So feeling is that he can provide an update probably for your next meeting. But it sounds like there's progress being made.
Yeah, great. Sean?
I would also add there's been some work done on the court resurfacing, and given the proximity of these two spaces, I actually probably feel that the youth centre building isn't the appropriate building looking forwards in terms of size, scale and location. But what that looks like, I'm not the one to say.
Right.
No, that's great. So moving along to number 6, which is the rubbish in the Tuakau CPD.
And just an update for that one, Madam Chair. So the audit that is referenced in this April update is expected to be completed by the end of June. So we've got a contractor that is engaged to do it. But yeah, we just need to get it through, and to be fair, it's been challenging with COVID, etc. So that's work in progress.
No, that's great. Thank you. Any more questions or anybody from that one? No, I'll keep going, and I'll keep an eye on for hands going up as well. So number 7 was this St Stephen's Road car park. So there's an update. So the team's been liaising with Sean. Sean, did you want to provide us an update on that one?
Yep. So they have provided, well, really it's just an indication of where the council boundary sits, and that they will be discussing with, because there's a couple of people that have sort of easements and share the car park, and that those conversations are going to happen. So we assume things are moving forward there.
No, lovely, thank you. So we've covered number 8, which is the speed on the Tuakau Bridgeport Waikato Road. We've got number 9, the West Street car park. So it's a verbal update for that one. Tony, are you doing the verbal update?
So Madam Chair, just probably tapped into what Sean just referenced with item number 7. So what Paul, who's our project delivery sort of manager, suggesting is that there might be an opportunity to wrap this piece of work up into one of the sort of physical works contracts with the St Stephen's Road car park works. So he's suggesting maybe that maybe Sean, you and he have a conversation about that. Yeah, so he's sort of feeling like there's a way forward to wrap it up into works that have already been contracted.
So will, sorry.
No, carry on, Sean.
So will he contact us, or?
Yes, I'll make a suggestion that Paul touches base with you.
Yep, that'd be great.
Yep.
All right, so the next item is the Port Waikato blueprint. So it's just indicating that there's they've got a public workshop on the 3rd of May. I'm not sure if there's anything to add at that point till after they've done the workshop, and I think Carolyn's involved in that. Anything, Tony? I think we'll probably slip over that one. Yep, so number 11 is the public toilets, the Alexandra readout. So Vern, did you want to update on that one?
Sure, I met with Jason Marconi here in Tuakau. We had a good meeting in general in regards to the green style toilets. And the biggest issue that we came up with was whom would, if there was a toilet up there, whom would service it? What he felt was best was that the toilets at the sports grounds at the bottom on the reserve there, that those toilets were adequately signposted on heading up towards Alexander Readout Reserve and also from the top at the reserve. Because the toilets are already there. It's just a question of them being made, as I understand, operable. Now, he was going to look into this to report back to this for this particular meeting, but I have not caught up with him since that meeting. Whilst the idea of the green toilets is something for the future to consider right now to get something operable, it was far better to look at the existing units that aren't used.
So through you, Madam Chair, I can probably just reconfirm what Vern has said. So I spoke to Megan May today about that, and absolutely their preference is to do some sort of redevelopment of the Tuakau domain toilets rather than move to a technology that's going to require a whole level of additional service around it to support it.
No, so that sounds good, Tony. So we'll get further updates on that, will we, as this work, as these ideas progress?
Yeah, so maybe what might be quite helpful for Grace to just capture the fact that if you're supportive of that, for that to be sort of some sort of direction of support for staff, say, yep, cool, happy to support the upgrade of the Tuakau domain toilet. So that would probably be quite helpful.
Oh, I got Sean.
Cool.
Yep, Sean and
Thank
Vern's
you.
Yeah, I'd certainly support that for a second reason, that, and I believe the toilets there are part of the changing facilities, which lacks water, I think is its biggest, lacks plumbing, and those entire sports grounds don't get utilised to a very good extent because there is no facility there. So hopefully we get the win twice.
Yeah, I think that because those used to be the rugby league, and we gave those up to the Waikato District Council before everything changed. Oh, Waikato to the Franklin Council back then. And the problem with the plumbing was they would get broken into and they'd steal all the copper. So we used to have to replace all the pipes and the hot water cylinders, and then we had a big problem with birds shitting, pooing in the toilets and the showers. It was horrible. And then so yeah, but the fields and the lights are pristine. Just need the ablution block to get up to scratch, and it'd be good because yeah, people have asked about toilets up at the cemetery as well. So if they know it's down there, you know, and they can go there, that's good too. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good.
Yep, Vern, you also had your hand up.
Oh, my hand was up to support that. That's what we do for Tony. Yep.
Perfect, great. Okay, that's lovely.
Thank you.
So the next item was have we covered off the Buckland Road Park development?
Yep.
I think that's going to change to roading, isn't it? Because
Yes,
of the issues
that's
of
right.
roading. Lesbatkin Reserve.
Yeah, and so Madam Chair, again, I spoke to Megan about this today. So there's a piece of work being done, which is going to incorporate, I think, the requirement to have a reserve concept plan within the reserve management plan. And so the note here is to say that, look, the Les Batkin Reserve has been noted to be included in this process once established. So I think you get the outcome that you're looking for. So I'm not sure exactly in terms of timing, but so it looks like there's probably, you know, a couple of years to actually get this reserve management plan review. So, but I think the outcomes that you're looking for can be delivered through this process.
Right, it doesn't look like there's any questions, so we'll move on to, so that we just keep that on the agenda at the moment. Yeah, actually, do we need to? Yeah, we'll keep that on the agenda. So do we need to keep this on the agenda?
Probably not for 2 years.
No, I think we can take this one off, so long as it's noted somewhere. The Tuakau, yeah, so long as it's noted somewhere. Then the Liverpool Street car park, did we touch on that one with the West Street car park?
Not tonight, we haven't, but
No.
that's really, I guess, just an FYI. So there was some concerns, I think, that it was being used inappropriately. But Anthony, who's our strategic property manager, is just saying that it is a council asset. And so at some point we'll work through what the potential uses of it could be.
Do we need to keep this one on the action list, or have we now had our answers to it? Like, what was its status, Sean?
I personally kind of feel like there's a building going on it right now, and I know that that developer tried to purchase said park, which didn't come past the community board. And it would be, interesting to know if there is any proposal by the developer to what's happening there. Will it just remain as a gravel space, or because I know it's going to get used as the car park for the new liquor store, right?
I was going to say, isn't it the car park for the liquor store?
Well, no, because that's supposed to be provided for by the developer.
On the other side.
By the developer in front of his building.
Okay, so Sean, are you saying that that response isn't quite in context?
Yeah, it was, I guess, wanting to know if there was any thoughts from council through that process for its future.
Okay.
I guess leading on from Sean, my question would be, now we know what its zoning is, which is business,
Yeah.
and it's owned by council. Is this a piece of land that council needs to own, and if we do own it, then what are we going to do with it? And if we don't need to own it, then would it be better off using that, selling it and shouldn't say that in a public meeting, but using that funding for a different purpose rather than using it or else design it up to be a proper car park, or but the community board probably would like to be involved in that conversation. Ben?
Yeah, I think through you. So for Vern, I think you were going to comment this.
The land is actually designated for a future roundabout for the ring road. It's been there for umpteen years under Franklin and then transferred across to us. That land was never designed as a car park. It is part of the roundabout, but it has become a car park. And I agree with Madam Chair that if it isn't going to be used as a roundabout in the future, then it needs to be tidied by council and put into parking. It's the obvious thing to use that piece of land for.
So Madam Chair, what I guess I can say is that one of the projects that Anthony and his team has on the go is to do a stock take of land that council owns across the entire district, and to really sort of work out what are strategic pieces of land and what are not, to free up the land that is not, and to potentially invest in pieces that are. So, like, for example, if we look at Pukano, for example, So we didn't have land in strategic places in Pokeno. Now we do. And even if it's not about land that we will specifically develop on in the future, at least it's hedging us in that market in a strategic place where we know, for example, that we might want to develop something strategic like a community hub or library or whatever we want to call it. We certainly want to make sure that we have some land in places to enable that, to hedge us. And even if in the future we decide that we don't need to be a landowner, we could be a leasee, that's fine, but at least we sort of hedge the community in from an asset perspective. So that's a key piece of work that Anthony and his team is doing. And I think the key thing that he said in this response is that any conversation around the future use of that land will be had with the community.
I think, agreeing with what you've said, Tony, I think Barry Curtis, the Mayor of Manukau, was very good at that in terms of having that long vision and identifying what potentially could be strategic pieces of land, because even if closer to the time you don't use them, you've got land to do a land swap with. So that but you've got an asset that you can lever against. And certainly, you know, Zabari was a prime example around that botany area where they invested in land years ahead of where it was needed, but it proved a very wise decision in the longer term. So I think that's always a wise thing to do.
Yeah, and look, we're very conscious of that, and council has probably invested in some lands to deliver, you know, the likes of green space over more recent years that had we made those investments a few years earlier or have invested in the right stuff, then, you know, ultimately our ratepayers win.
That's right. So the next item, so that's good that that's happening. Now we know what its zoned is and then whether it's needed, and if so. The next one we've covered is the review of the pedestrian crossing in Tuakau. We touched on that one when Ross was here. The next 16 was the Onewhero village surveillance cameras. So that was supposed to be a verbal update for tonight's meeting.
Yeah, so Carolyn, unfortunately, we're not ready for that. So Sue had said we're if it's okay with you guys, we can do that at the next meeting.
No, that's fine. And then hopefully Jonathan will be at that one as well. And then we've got 17 is a review of the community board charter. I think we've parked that until the post. Have we parked that? Sean, what was I can't remember what the agreement on that was now.
I think we did park it, but I still want to keep reiterating that it's unwise to get a brand new board to review the charter.
So why don't we put that on the next agenda? Is that we?
Sorry.
Yeah, why don't we put that on the next agenda, that we put the community board charter on the next agenda and have a look at it, because then we can start to tidy it up before a new board comes. Because you're right, like a brand new board they don't know what they're going to be doing to actually understand the importance of various aspects of it, so we could tidy it up. Fern?
Madam Chair, that's exactly as we spoke briefly about yesterday, and that is exactly what happened 6 years ago when we first got onto the board. That was the very first agenda item we had to deal with, and we had absolutely no idea of where we were. And I think the other thing I would like to suggest, if we do put this on the agenda for the next meeting, we should address that point for strategic help from people who may not actually get on the board next time around, but who are there to help newbies.
So we'll get Tony, are we able to get that board charter on the next agenda? So Tony or Grace? Yeah.
So Grace, you'll so Madam Chair, can I also suggest to you, as we head towards an election, and we know we're going to have a new mayor, so the opportunity I think for this community board is to provide some suggestions by this board in terms of the role of community boards. And so if you were to workshop this or to have a conversation at the next meeting, to come up with a list of suggestions in terms of, you know, as a community board, we're up for this because a new mayor and council can potentially look at things like delegations. And I think we alluded to a little bit earlier in the meeting, you know, so what is the delegated authority of a community board? So I think Candy might have raised it in terms of exactly what decision-making power you have. So it's through the triennial election process and the establishment of committees and delegations following that these things are determined by the council. So you might decide as a community board that you want to put that challenge to the new mayor and council. So that would be the time to do it. So the timing now is perfect for you to have that conversation. So don't look at it just in terms of, oh, we're going to play around with our terms of reference to get the wording right. Really push the boat out would be an opportunity for you if that's what you wanted to do.
That sounds very good, particularly given that we will be going forward with 2 community boards like Tuakau and Onewhero, so we'll be able to make a range of suggestions that will support both boards. Yeah. No, that's great. Sean?
Just because I realise you're at the end of the list, I just wanted to go back to number 12, if I might, which was about, well, the conversation was all about the intersection, but actually that item was about the Buckland Road Park that's next to the high school there. So that council purchased some land, which we still don't know about. And there's a concept plan being done for that park.
So is that by the council team, Sean, are doing a concept plan?
Yes.
Right.
And getting some engagement with the community board around the concepts for that.
Okay, so is that a park in the vicinity of this roundabout and this intersection?
It was just, well, it's really attached to the development that's happening there. And then the conversation about the traffic came out of that, talking about the development. And then it's ended up being all about that intersection. But actually, item 12 is about the concept plan of the playground neighbourhood park that's happening on Buckland Road.
Okay, so do we want to just add another action there? So we've got one now reference to Ross. Do we want to just add another action to say, so is it about you wanting to connect into the development of that concept plan?
Yeah. So, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but we know it exists. The council's never said anything to the community board about it or to the community that we're aware of.
Right.
And so just wanting to understand what's going to happen there and if the community has any feedback on it.
Is it an existing reserve?
It's a piece of land that council acquired when the sale of the development land happened. This is probably a year and a half ago. I think the council probably purchased it.
Okay, so to help us, Sean, so what would we call it?
I believe there's a concept. It's the Buckland Road.
It's the Buckland Road Park.
Okay, Buckland Road. So we grab that, Grace. So Buckland Road Park.
It's close to the college.
Okay, so the board
concept plan being developed for it.
Okay, so board are interested to understand the any details around the concept plan.
Yeah, I've seen in a little line somewhere that there's money being put towards it.
Okay.
I have no detail on it.
All right, cool.
The college report, I heard, Sean, that it's going to be a one size, like football field size. And they were going to utilize that as well at the college too. But if there was going to, I heard there was going to be a bit of a park there too. And if there was going to be a park, I know I had posted up somewhere in regards to being a new park for consultation for the community to input on some of the things they might want to have there as well.
Yeah, okay.
Bern, your hand up.
I think the biggest thing out of it was the embarrassment that I faced when the subject was addressed at Rotary by the head of the college, and they knew all about it. And we, as Sean has said, were not consulted in any way, advised or anything, and still am not. And I wonder for the entranceway into that park, whether it will actually be on Buckland Road or whether the residents of the new subdivision are going to love people going up through their area to actually get to the park. None of us know. And the trees that are on Buckland Road are 20 feet high, and it's absolutely screened off at the moment. So I think more is the point that we don't know, and we should know.
I only know because I'm on the college board. So I understand there is a driveway on that side of Buckland for the entry on that side. So it does cut down the traffic on the other side of Elizabeth Street. That's what we've been told and shown.
All right.
So this item probably needs to be split into two, doesn't it? One is about the roading and the other is about the reserve or the parkland that's being developed as well, and the need for consultation with the community. Well, at least like a report to the community board about what is proposed for that park. Just so we've got some
a bit of a status report, isn't it, around exactly what is the status of the process around the development of this park.
No, that's great. So we've got so if we move along, the next one is the planned works for the Tuakau Community Board area. So we've got the Sunset Beach toilets. So it's talking about the time frame for delivery still being developed, and so they'll update us once the dates are sorted. The Maraetai Beach playground upgrade. I'm just keeping an eye on hands if anybody's got any questions on those. So that's consultation will continue around July. Tuakau skate park, so the earthworks and drainage and power are now complete. So Sean, did you want to add anything for the skate park? Because I know you're involved with that.
Progressing as it should.
Yeah, no, it's good driving past there, seeing stuff happening. The Tuakau Aquatic Centre, we've indicated we've got the meeting happening, so we'll be able to update more on that. So I don't think there's anything really to say at this stage. Light Body Reserve car park, contract to go up for tender over winter, so there's probably not much to say on that. St Stephen's car park, we've already talked about. Light Body Reserve, court resurfacing in the planning phase, Tuakau or floor coating in the planning phase, and the Harrisfield Bridge replacement we've talked about. And so has anybody got any other points on any of those items? I haven't seen any hands go up. Candy?
Yeah, no, just taking note of the Tuakau Aquatic Centre. Is that what it's called now?
Probably just still called the swimming pools.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Has it changed? Oh, I was just going, okay. So it's still
just got a
swimming pools?
I think
that
so.
Sounds better.
Yeah, just got a posh name. And I always think I'm never quite sure how to pronounce aquatic, right? Everybody laughs at the way I say it. I think I got it right tonight. Vern?
Okay, so it's still the Tuakau swimming pools.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm sure those members of the community board that were present yesterday at the Anzac Parade would comment on the flooring upgrade that has happened in the Memorial Hall. That old lino looks absolutely like brand new, which is really good to report. But I also have a question that Bronwyn raised, that there's, and I don't know whether this is appropriate, but we'll cover it since it's the hall. There's a new fridge got installed, which is really lovely to have, but the door opens the wrong way for those using the kitchen. Where did the fridge come from? Why didn't someone look at it to go, what way should the door open? It's completely out about face. If you look at
I had a chat to Bronwyn about this afternoon, Vern, and isn't there a hall committee? Because I think Bruce Cameron used to be on it as part of the community board, and I think Bronwyn indicated she was a board representative on it. So I'm just wondering if that. Oh, Sean's got your hand. You've got your hand up.
No, Bronwyn may be able to comment on that. Essentially, I believe it's just a council-run hall.
Yeah, because essentially it should be that, like, if they've got a hall committee, it should be that committee making those decisions. No, so it should, I mean, who is responsible for the oversight of that hall is the question. And who makes the decisions around what's needed for it?
Yeah, we
I
have.
don't know, but they got new lights too, eh? And door handles and locks. Sorry, Tony.
Oh no, I was just going to say through you, Madam Chair, that certainly a number of our halls are actually council owned. So, and I'm pretty sure Sean's right that this is a council one. So we can follow that up and see how that's happened.
We're not complaining about the new fridge.
I know that. I can imagine. I can sympathise with the frustration.
It's those details that only the users think about, like, you know, which way the door opens, you know, that sort of thing, which is why it's important to consult with the users. So the next item.
In the good old days, you used to be able to swap them around, didn't you?
I think you still can. I think you still, but I'm not sure how you change. I've never figured out how you change them over. Right, so the next item is the discretionary fund report. So we have the fund report here. I think we'll just look at the just the commitments. I can update on, if we just go down. So the Tuakau Youth Centre building project, there's that commitment, the entrance fees. We are still waiting for that 2019-20 summer season. I think we're still waiting for the invoice on that, Tony, or I'm not sure if Sue O'Gorman's updated.
So, Madam Chair, my understanding from discussing this with Sue is that the invoice has just been received for the $7,000, and in the absence of receiving anything in the 3.5, we're going to remove it. So there's $3,500 back to your coffers.
Right. No, I'm pleased to hear that, because that's what we were sort of signaling at the last meeting. If they're not going to put an invoice in, we've waited long enough. How long do you wait? Yeah. So no, that's good. So we've got the funding available for the enhancements to the pool. Now the flowers to Bob McLeod, I purchased over Christmas, and I have been reimbursed for that now. So that should move up to expenditure. That has happened. So the commitment to Hillary Harry for the Breast Cancer Foundation. Bern, you got your hand up on that one?
I'm 99.9% sure we paid it directly after our conversation from last month. Vicky is just searching now as to how I did it, because I volunteered to do that ourselves and then reimburse. So I know we've done it. I just forgotten to put the system into the system.
Yeah. So if you email, once you've got your receipt, if you've got some sort of form of receipt or something to show that you made the payment, just probably Grace, does that go to you to sort? Yeah, so email that to Grace for then she'll sort reimbursement out for you, and just email it to Grace with your bank account details so that she can sort that. Belgravia, so Tony said we just got the 7,000 for the receipt. Christmas commitment for the Christmas events in Tuakau. Did we have any, is there any invoices likely for Christmas events? There was nothing happened, no flags or anything, no. So that looks like that will go back into the coffers. Commitment for the amount for the cost of the pool chemicals. Now I did provide Sue, Grace, you would have got that too. I think I did provide Sue with the invoice from Nike, and I think it was the only one we received. I know Jonathan was following up with Onewhero, and I think the other pools remain closed over this summer. So I'm not sure where those invoices have progressed, whether they've progressed to payment yet or not.
I'll follow up with Sue. I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, but if you can, it might have been Yvonne and Sue. I sent it to, so it might have been before your time. Yeah, no, that would be great. And I'll check with Jonathan around Onewhero, because I know he chased them. So yeah, so he might have otherwise we'll just give that one up. And then the commitment towards the Anzac Day catering and stuff. which only happened this weekend. So Bronwyn, I guess Bronwyn will be submitting any invoices for that. So we're pretty much up to date with those commitments.
Just waiting on all the tablecloth, the account for the tablecloth that we've sent to the laundry to be cleaned.
Great. No, that's good. Any other comments? We don't seem to be getting a lot of we've had a couple of applications this year, but I think COVID's kept everything quiet, hasn't it? Yeah. All right, so we'll move. I don't think have we got any recommendations on that one. I think we just moved. Yeah, that the discretionary fund be received. Yep. Thanks, Candy. So I'll move it. Candy second. Thanks for that. So we'll move swiftly to the next item, which is the third quarter service request report, which the first one's Onewhero, and then the second one's Tuakau. So I'll take them all. I think they're all in one big report. So any questions or comments on those ones? No. The only item that stood out for me, Tony, and I should have emailed yourself earlier on it, so I don't expect you to have an answer for it today, was around in Tuakau. There was 2 welfare cases for dog welfare of immediate threat to life, which sounded concerning. I'm not sure if that was threat to human life or threat to the dogs. I presume if it was a threat to human life, it would be counted as aggression, but I'm not sure.
I can just, if you're interested in understanding those, I can ask the animal control team and just circulate something to you via email.
Yeah, that would be great, thanks, because it did sound quite concerning. I
think it's likely generally to be threat to human life. So it'll be when we've received a call from somebody concerned about the behaviour of a dog and the risk to public safety. So I think it's just classified like that. So I'd be pretty sure that that's the case, but happy to circulate something if you want.
Yeah, it'd be useful to know which way the classification goes, whether it's a threat to the animal or threat to the person, because I would have thought if it was a threat to the person, it would be under aggression. But no, that would be great, thank you. But it doesn't look like we've got any other questions on that. And that brings us to the end of the agenda items. So we'll now move to Tony, have you got an executive? Oh, I'll just move that the service report be received. Do I have a seconder for that? Oh, yep, Sean, thank you. Or Sean can move it and Candy can second it. There we are, get everybody's names on the agenda. Let me just get back to so Tony, do we have any update from the exec?
Yes, I'm not sure exactly what Sue does, but I've just got like a little bit of a list of things just to probably tune you into what we're experiencing from a staff and council perspective, if that's helpful. So
no, that would be great, thank you.
Yeah, so I guess it's a pretty tough environment, and we're no different to any of you in terms of your sort of working or even your lives at the moment, where we're still experiencing COVID in our business. We're experiencing COVID in our workplace. So we're have been really challenged by the availability of staff, through whether it be a staff member themselves going down with COVID or a member of their family and having to isolate, etc., etc. So it's been quite disruptive. We've been very lucky that we've got really good mobility set up now. So staff, if they are supporting someone at home, one of their children, for example, they at least have got the opportunity to engage with the workplace. But it is tough, and what we're seeing is that it's not just us, it's all of the contractors that we usually lean on, the provision of physical works. Everything is being compromised by this crazy time that we're in. So that's probably just something to watch out. And I know that Roger McCulloch, for example, is reporting at every infrastructure committee meeting in terms of delivery around capital works projects. And so what we would like to have delivered is down on budget, and so we're likely to have some reasonably significant carry forwards at the end of the year, albeit the team are still working pretty hard to deliver what they can. As you guys will be aware, so significant reform happening within our business. We've got the RMA reform that is going to be really significant, but and even the messes, and Sean, you'll relate to how long our district plan process has taken, and the many millions of dollars we have invested in that process. But the frustration that we have is that the government just come in and lob additional things that they expect us to cope with. And so a good example is I can't remember exactly, I've just forgotten exactly what it's called, but the notion of being able to put more houses on a section 3 stories high. And so we just expected as councils to be able to just absorb that like that, and you can think about the implications that has on infrastructure, for example. It's just another frustrating government directive that's totally disconnected with the ability or the needs that need to be considered in delivering that. And so even though people have talked about the cities as being the main organisations or councils that have to digest that, we are as well. For any community that we have, which I think the rule of thumb is if you've got a community in excess of 5,000 people, you're in that boat. And so we're having to consider in that context. So it's massive disruption to our business where we're trying to plan forward, and all of a sudden these things are coming in from left field, which is pretty challenging.
I joined the workshop. That reminded me, because I couldn't quite work out which workshop I joined. The workshop on the where the councillor Lisa was, and the impact on Raglan. I think because that was where that land intensification and that and land development certainly seemed to be a key area for the Waikato District Council.
Certainly for
and
certainly
like you,
for
it was very much that.
Certainly for parts of our district, and it's that whole the government philosophy that the time has come where growth is not going to be held back because the neighbour doesn't want the growth next to them. Whereas in the past you had to go through plan changes and someone would go, oh hell, yes, I agree with growth, but I don't want it there, thanks, because that would affect my amenity. That's gone. So some pretty challenging conversations, or some challenging experience for ratepayers going forward, or landowners going forward, because you're not necessarily going to like what is delivered next to you. I guess the other key thing is the annual plan process. So I think Sue's probably shared with you in the past that we're trying to focus more these days on doing a really good quality long-term plan, so we don't have to go out and engage in the subsequent annual plan years. And so the councillors are not proposing to engage on an annual plan this year, because we don't believe that there's anything significant that's come up that we need to consider and have a conversation with our communities about. So what that means is that what was contemplated in terms of a rates increase in year 2 of the long-term plan is what is likely to be adopted, albeit council will not be adopting the annual plan until June. The fact that the councillors have made a decision not to consult, what's in the year 2 is a 3.5% general rate increase, and for our urban communities, and of which Tuakau and Pokeno are covered by this, there is targeted rate increases for waters in particular. So I think in Tuakau, for example, the average increase will be around that sort of 5 to 6%, which includes the targeted rates and the general rate. And the big kicker is, or a significant kicker is the additional costs of delivering the waters business of council. And as you know, that a lot of that has been driven by the higher bar from government, and that sort of flows into the whole reform agenda of the government too, in terms of improving the quality of water and things like that. And I guess the last thing that we're starting to apply our mind to, as we alluded earlier to the terms of reference for the community board, but just the elections, the looming elections process. And so in your part of the business, we're going to have another election for a community board on the other side of the river. But we're doing some work to try and improve the engagement in the elections process by our residents. So we're going to probably be being a little bit more active from a communication engagement perspective than we have in the past. But yeah, it's just something else that we're working through. And we know, I think as I alluded to earlier, we know, for example, we're going to have a new mayor. We've had some councillors already publicly state that they are standing down. And so we're thinking that at least we're likely to have a change in the composition of our council by at least 50%, because we've also got our new Māori wards. So we've got 2 Māori wards out of the 14 seats, including the mayor. So that's quite a significant change that we're starting to plan for now, so that we can induct appropriately the new councillors into that framework. And I think one of the things that is important is the induction of community board members into the business of council as well. So that might be something else, depending on how you feel, how well that goes. It might be something in your feedback to council that you want to reinforce the importance of inducting community boards, particularly new members, into the business of council. So, Madam Chair, that's probably the things that I had on my list, but happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions from anybody? No, that's great, Tony, thank you. That was very informative. So I'll just go, we haven't got any councillors present at the moment, so I'll just go around the room with the community board members for any updates from the community board members. So Sean, you got any update? Or have we covered it off through the meeting? You're on Zoom, on mute?
Yeah, no, I don't have anything additional to add, thanks.
And you've got Bronwyn on phone with you. So has Bronwyn got anything she'd like to add? Particularly about the Anzac Parade and all the work that she put into that?
Just that there's a few things that need sorting out that I've been told of even just today. And for me, yes, I was told that I was going to be part of the whole committee along with somebody else, and I can't remember who that was. And then we are not told anything that's happening, i.e. we've got new chairs, where did they come from? I got asked yesterday. Just general things that are happening. Anzac Day, hopefully I have had good reports so far, but there's been a couple of things that were done a bit differently that shouldn't have been changed too much from the booklet that we were supposed to go by. But and then I got told yesterday there was a 5 o'clock ceremony up at, and it's been happening for years, up at the actual cemetery where the returned servicemen are. So there's things that I found out yesterday that I knew nothing about, and I've been doing it for 18 years, so it's been kind of interesting. I agree with everything with regards to names of people that have lived here for many years, i.e. Grahams, McGills, and all that have been used, and the Māori people that have lived here for years and years, and some of their whānau that have long gone. So yeah, we've really got to look into these things. I got an air bashing yesterday about staying on to the community board because it's going to be a new thing. So I just have to wait and see what happens. I have 2 months. That's my report.
Thank you, Bronwyn. Candy. You're on mute, Candy.
Yeah, probably just a couple of things. Kia ora, Caroline. For myself to follow up, one will be the carving. So hopefully we can get those up before we get off. We will get them up before we get off. And then the other thing is around the Māori strategy that we looked to engage in at the last public forum. It was 2021 in August. This might be a good opportunity, is what I'm hearing, to put some of those things forward, and especially if we're looking at our what we were going to discuss that we've put on hold for a little bit there.
Community board charter.
Yeah, community board charter. So maybe it could come in part and parcel in that. Or the council might actually come up with something that we need to, we can work on as the community board. Really love the idea about possibly having induction for the new community board members and what that might look like. And it might be good if we put something together ourselves too for the new members, encouraging others to come onto the community board, because I think we're still looking for 6 more for the next term. Is that right? So I think, yeah, just a couple more things for me to do in my term that I've had here. Kia ora.
Hi, Candy. Vern.
I think for me to report, I really just need to complete on some of those other things that we've been working on, as they all need a bit more work to get them completed. And working with Bronwyn yesterday, I'd just like to say thanks, Bron, for involving yourself in such an exercise. And you did get a lot of accolades, and you also, yes, as well, there were some issues. I have been asked by a few that they believe that we should have a debrief. In fact, I got asked, would I actually do the debrief? But if we did do a debrief, I think we need to look at it from a positive perspective of how we move forward, because as I understand, Bronwyn's done this for many, many, many years and isn't going to be doing it moving forward. So I think the sooner we actually had a debrief, put a plan in place for the next Anzac Parade, it couldn't be soon enough in terms of just knowing where we are and what we all do and who might be involved, whether we're on community board or not at that particular point. Probably doesn't matter a great deal, but it's just knowing that we've got the plan in place. I'm sure most would agree that we got away with things well with the way the weather was, and it was a great event. But for me, I just want to continue these things I haven't finished. Oops, where have you gone?
Thank you, Vern. No,
I've
thank
lost
you.
you. Yeah,
that's great. I would just like to tautoko all the efforts and work that Bronwyn put in to organising the Anzac Parade, and not the parade, but the whole day, because I'm very aware of the challenges that it takes in getting your speakers together, getting those key people, confirmed. It looks fairly smooth on the day, but I know there's a lot of running around before the day, and certainly Bronwyn involved some of us to follow up on various bits and pieces. So there's a lot of work that goes on in the background to actually ensure that the day runs smoothly. And then, of course, we had the issue with the weather yesterday. We didn't know whether it was going to rain or not rain. I certainly, like at the beginning of the meeting, there's a couple of us talking about how nice the previous year was outside. You know, it does bring a different feel to the event, and whether that's something we use as plan A going forward, rather, you know, the hall is nice, but there was something quite special about being outside. So I think, also going forward is perhaps trying to get some other more people involved as well to help with all the arrangements, so it doesn't just fall on one person's shoulders would be good. This month I did attend the workshop on the land management stuff, and I can't quite remember whether I got to I think I got to the local alcohol policy one as well, at least for part of that time. So Tony, I would just like to put a plug in as a community chair that having the Zoom options to attend these workshops has been a real bonus. You know, there's a big commitment otherwise for community board members to get to Ngaruawahia for the workshops if they're only face-to-face, because sometimes we join those, we don't necessarily have a lot to say in speaking and stuff, but it's nice to listen to the discussion, and it's just balancing that up against our other commitments because we're all essentially volunteers. So, and I know there has been sort of indications from the councillors that it's difficult doing a hybrid model, you know, partially face-to-face and partially virtual. It is challenging, but it can happen, and I spent half my life on Zoom meetings, which are hybrid models. It does remove one of the barriers for people to attend, and particularly some of them are not, short notice or change their times and stuff. So I would certainly, if you have any influence on it, please can you keep a Zoom option going, because it does make it so much easier for us. And I see there's lots of nods happening around the room. It does make it so much easier for us to attend.
I think, Madam Chair, that your comments are well received. And so I know that we're getting some new technology in the chamber that might actually mean that some sort of a dual arrangement might work better, but I think it is certainly heard that particularly for some of our community that are not close to the council officers, having something that supports engagement is important. But could I know that Grace will probably capture this in the minutes, but to even have a note that is sent to the council from this community board suggesting that as being really helpful for engagement would not go amiss. But I'll certainly take it back and talk to our comms. So we're doing, we've got a new comms, marketing and engagement manager at council. So she's been with us for 5 months. I don't think she's been into the office more than probably twice over the 5 months with COVID, but she's certainly come with some new ideas. And one of the things that she and I are talking about is how we improve the connection and engagement into boards and committees, because ultimately you guys are our reference point into our communities, and then if there's things that we can be doing to help you connect with your communities, we want to hear that as well. So all that sort of feedback will be very gratefully received. But you need the councillors to understand that this model that in part we've created through COVID, been forced to create through COVID, has some real upside to it. Yes, it doesn't tick all the boxes, but there's some significant upside, particularly for some of you that live some way away from the Ngaruawahia office.
Yeah, and I am doing my little bit of lobbying, Tony, at the moment. Every invite I get for a workshop, as a chairperson, I do say, is there a Zoom option?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
ask that a Zoom option be provided. And certainly, I mean, I did do one of the submissions was one time via Zoom, and again, that was really made life so much easier. And I think for a lot of our community now, have got quite used to using Zoom or Teams for connecting for things. So I think it is about removing barriers, and certainly the chairing. I've seen some etiquettes where they'll the chair will take the questions first from Zoom and then to face to face, or one, vice versa or whatever. You can make it work. No, I'm happy to write an email to who should I send it to? Should I send it to yourself?
Look, it can probably go, happy for it to come to me. Yep.
No, sounds good. Just to indicate, Sean?
I just, on that exact comment that you've got there in terms of, getting our messages through to council, and saying, how do we communicate with the council, for items such as that.
So I guess so my advice to you would be the primary contact would be the executive support or Grace supporting this committee. So that's your key primary, and of course your councillors as your contact. But for a particular example like this, just pushing it with your councillors, pushing it with whoever you can, really, because trust me, you're not alone.
No, that's great. Now, the other thing I wanted to raise in my report, we haven't done the, we talked at the, we've been having the 3-week informal meeting as a board between our formal board meetings. I thought it might be a good idea to reinstate those again. Now we're out of the peak of Omicron. And I had a brief chat to Bronwyn the other day, just because we have to be talking about the Anzac Parade, is bringing a bit more of a structure to them, about having them as a connecting with our community session. So we invite some of our community groups or hall committees to give them 20 minutes to come and talk to us either by Zoom or well, that's a discussion yet about how our next meeting is, so that we then can get at least 2 in each meeting, and then we perhaps get 20 minutes for ourselves as well. And that will give an opportunity for us to connect with those different communities, because we have missed going around the halls because of COVID, and there are some communities we haven't connected with, so like Nike and Opatia, and also some of the community groups in Tuakau, like the Community Crime Watch group, even the RSA we haven't talked to. So some of those other groups, just to connect with them, find out what they're doing, find out how we can support them as a board. So is that a good idea? I just want to get a bit of a feel from those of you here, Bern and Candy and Bronwyn. So I'll flick out an email tomorrow and just see who you might like to invite. The first one, I do want to invite Nike, because I know they have been wanting to talk to us about their swimming pool. So and I'll take ideas from the rest of you about who else we could invite for the first one. So I thought, that brings a little bit of structure to those meetings.
Lions as an active group.
And I thought 20 minutes is quite a nice time. It's not too long, because also too sometimes it keeps it concise. No, is that all right, Ben? Yeah, deep in thought there. Yeah, great. So I'll flick an email out and I'll catch up, and then I think we'll work out when the next 3 weeks is and get that started. Just in terms of our next meeting, or if we do that, do we want face-to-face or by Zoom? Because sometimes if it's just 20 minutes, and so I was just thinking of Nike way down.
Unless they got internet, eh?
Yeah, I'll check with, well, Carolyn has, so I'll check with them, because it would take them over an hour to get to Tuakau. So it's a 2-hour round trip for 20 minutes, whereas having Zoom, and we might do Zoom, for the in-between meetings or something.
Nice.
And just for our May, our next meeting's not till June, so we can see a bit closer to the time what Omicron's looking like by then. But yeah, there's just still quite a lot of it in the community. Yeah. No, very good. Can't think of anything else at the moment, so I think that's it. So yeah, no, thank you. Nobody got any other comments? I don't know. We didn't open with a karakia, Candy, but I don't know if you want to close with one, or we'll.
Amen.
Yeah. And I particularly want to acknowledge Bronwyn, because I think she did an amazing job yesterday.
Yeah.
And and she did a huge amount of work, because a huge amount of work goes into that, and all the ups and downs of not knowing whether it was going to go ahead, not go ahead. We had the Defence Forces pull out because of COVID, and just not knowing who was coming and who was going. It was a particularly crazy event to be organising. So thank you very much, Bronwyn, on behalf of all of us. You did an amazing job.
You're welcome.
No, that's great. And yeah, so I think we'll close the meeting, and thank you, Tony, and thank you, Grace. And have a safe evening, everybody, and look after yourselves till we next meet together.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. And my apologies
Bye.
for lateness.
It's all right. See ya.
Cheers.